trying to intimidate me back there. I'm live. Good evening, everybody. Today is March 21st. Welcome to the City Council meeting. We're streaming live on our YouTube channel, recording and archiving the meeting. Like with all of our meetings, we don't have a heavy agenda tonight, but like with all of our meetings, we'll rise and bow our heads and recite the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get into business. Thank you.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer Rampy is not here tonight, so Melissa, will you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Krebs?
Here.
Teveno?
Here.
Schaefer?
Here.
Lucy DeTillo? Chatham?
Absent.
Bartlett?
Here.
Dan DeTillo?
Here.
Thank you. Council, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from March the 7th? If so, we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move we approve the minutes from March 7th as presented.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All fair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, beginning of our agenda, we have a couple proclamations that we'd like to make tonight. So I'd like to read those. Get to my spot here. First one is proclamation for Safe Place Week. And to this here. Whereas National Safe Place Week will be recognized throughout the United States during the week of March 19th to the 25th, 2023. National Safe Place is a nationally recognized youth outreach and prevention program that provides immediate help and safety to young people in crisis. And whereas all young people deserve to feel safe and protected in their communities and families to be assured their children are safe. Whereas youth need a safe haven from various negative influences such as child abuse, substance abuse, and crime, and they need to have resources readily available to assist them when faced with the circumstances that compromise their safety. Whereas the Safe Place program is committed to protecting our most valuable asset, our youth, by offering short-term safe places at neighborhood locations where trained volunteers are available to counsel, shelter, and advise youth seeking assistance and guidance. Whereas Safe Place is often the first step to immediate help and safety, businesses including restaurants, community organizations, and small businesses and community buildings, such as schools, libraries, and the police department, are designated as locations where youth can get help. Whereas the Jefferson County Youth Shelter operates Safe Place in Madison with the help of 26 businesses and volunteers making their facilities available, whereas National Safe Place has helped countless youth across the country find safety, support, and a path for a brighter future. Now therefore, I, Bob G. Courtney, Mayor of City of Madison, do hereby proclaim the week of March 20th, 26th, Safe Place Week. And I think, do we have a representative here from the youth shelter? Please come up, yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Daryl Ambergy, and I am the Safe Place Coordinator for our county. For those that may not know, as Mayor Courtney just said, Safe Place is a nationally recognized outreach and prevention program for youth facing crisis. This program is extremely important, as he just said, for youth who are facing homelessness, neglect, abuse, human trafficking. Without that program, many youth would be lost. I want to take a moment to thank you for that wonderful proclamation, as well as raise awareness for a free movie event we're hosting this Friday evening at Madison's Ivy Tech from 5 to 7 p.m. Thank you.
What was the Friday event?
It is a free movie event for all the local youth in our community to show up, learn more about Safe Place, watch a free movie, and just enjoy the evening. Wrap up spring break.
It's an invaluable program for our community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
more important than protecting our youth. This is a proclamation celebrating Women's History Month. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnicity have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of the city of Madison and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every aspect of life by constituting a significant portion of the labor force inside and outside of the home and as indispensable volunteers for charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions. Whereas the full participation of women is a foundational tenet of democracy. Women have been on the front lines fighting for and securing our equal rights and opportunities throughout history, and they continue to lead as advocates for rights and equality. Women hold significant roles in our community by serving in leadership areas of our local healthcare, schools, businesses, boards, philanthropic organizations, and our government. It is appropriate to set aside a time in which to recognize the important role all women have played throughout our history and renew our commitment to ensuring that women's voices are heard and that they play a critical role in resolving the challenges facing our life. Now, therefore, I, Bob G. Courtney, Mayor of the City, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Women's History Month. And as a young kid with 5 older sisters, growing up with what was effectively 6 mothers, I can tell you, women have played an incredible role in my life, and I'm so grateful. Now I want to present this to our council president, Carla Eads. Carla is also another friend and female who does not hesitate to give me advice and opinions along the way. So I appreciate that. Like growing up with another sister. Moving on, Council, are there any reports, recommendations, or other business of standing or select committees to report tonight? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to introduce Tony Steinhardt, our Director of Economic Development, to give a report to Council.
Good evening, Council. The first order of business is to introduce Emily McKinney, our new Associate Director of Economic Development, to our staff and to our city. Emily's moving here from Tupelo, Mississippi, where she just finished a degree in her master's degree in historic preservation from Southeast Missouri State, and fell in love with Madison over the summer by interning for the Madison Main Street program and working for them this summer. And so we're happy to have her back as a full-time resident and full-time staff member, and she knows that I need all the help in the world.
Welcome,
so
Emily.
I'm happy to have her.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
The second order of business tonight is to do a state reporting process, our April reporting requirements for the Madison Redevelopment Commission. The highlights from last year are extremely good. All of the key metrics for our Redevelopment Commission are up. Our AV was up over 10%. Our revenue was up, as well as our cash balance. All the while, we made record investments and helped with the capital stack of many projects throughout the community. So last year was a great year. It's showing that investment continues to breed new investment. Anecdotally, I know I've talked to a shopping center owner here in town who is planning major renovations to their shopping center because they know the pressure that our new Sunrise Crossing project will have on the marketplace. So again, investing in our community at all levels tends to spur other development. So we're real happy for that. I would turn to your report on page 6 with the slide tonight. Again, that shows our beginning cash balance at around $1.375 million, and we ended the year at almost $2.9 million again in cash. So again, as I stated earlier, our cash balance grew all the while we made record investments. The next page, you'll note the current budget as it relates to our investments and where those projects are going and slated. You'll note on there's a number of quality of life projects, our Destination Madison projects that are continuing to be invested, the Clifty Drive sidewalk project, as well as some other projects for wayfinding and various other projects in support of the PACE grants and smaller projects in that regard. If there's any questions about the Redevelopment Commission, you can ask them at this time on that report. Great. The second report I'd like to give tonight is just a little bit anecdotal and some facts. You'll note that this past year has been what I would call a record investment for our Destination Madison program as it relates to national retailers, seeing Madison as a regional trade area and locating here. The Sunrise Crossing project that you invested in last year has spurred major interest in this community from national retailers outside of those that we've already announced, and continue to get interest in the community for national retailers. I think finally the 30-mile trade area that they look at has sparked their interest. And so there are a number of other projects in the works yet to be named, both projects the city is helping with and just private developers are working towards. But the interest is high, and we're proud of that. Again, just showing you the fact that investment brings investment. I think one of the things to really report to is that while we're about 54th in population in the state of Indiana, we rank 43rd in our county's GDP of about $1.5 billion a year of GDP out of Jefferson County. And I think that's really good. Even the fact that we've had a 4% population growth, some of the first growth in decades here in Madison in 2022 is just another factor of what we're seeing here, that Madison is on the move. People are seeing Madison as a place to come live, work, and ultimately enjoy themselves. The Madison Port Authority and our railroad is a key asset to economic development and redevelopment for our community. They have invested or will be investing nearly $20 million in new infrastructure improvements. They've just submitted for a $6 million Christie grant to add a changing spur in North Vernon so that we can provide more efficient transfer of rail cars both in and out of our rail service. And this past year, 3 new rail-dependent manufacturers moved here or are opening businesses here this year, which will create about 42 new jobs. Some of that will require some new rail service to be added off of Wilson Avenue, not to mention the project for the new transload facility, which is already spurring some additional interest in job creation here in the city. We had met with our industrial roundtable. The mayor had a great meeting with them, and we are projecting some $600 million worth of new capital investment to be made by our industries here in town over the next 4 years, and we think that's just tremendous. And that plan will create somewhere in the neighborhood of 675 new jobs over the next 4 years in our community. And again, I think tourism can't be underrated. It brings in nearly $22 million in additional revenue in our community. And with the new placer data, we were able to quantify that we bring in over 365,000 visitors last year into the community. And we know that data very well, and the types of people that we are bringing here is allowing Visit Madison and ourselves here at the city and other nonprofits to more target that money to those folks. Those are just a few highlights. Any questions?
Tony, remarkable here. I don't have a question, but just another statement about the power of the investment and the multiplier effect that it has, and all of the, the new investment, either rail, road, river, air. City of Madison is a comprehensive enterprise with our own port authority, our own railroad, very comprehensive streets, sidewalks, tourism industries, and of course major investments happening across the industry, education and healthcare. Couldn't be prouder of where we're at and where we're headed.
Yeah, and I'll look ahead to where we're headed, Mayor. As you well know, we're focused a lot on implementation of projects that had been approved last year or in a number of stages of development. You're seeing that happen. Hobby Lobby will be breaking ground here shortly on their facility. It'll go up really quick because it's a tilt-up panel project, so you'll see a large crane up there. When that large crane arrives, you'll know that Hobby Lobby will be up and under roof fairly quickly. So projects are being implemented, the storm sewers, as well as a number of the road projects are underway. We are continuing daily and weekly to spend time on quality of life issues as it relates to downtown retail. We work hand in hand with the Madison Main Street program on that, and Austin Sims and I are working on some other roundtable conversations later this spring on culinary experiences here in the community. But we're working every day and every week on grocery stores and pharmacies. Both we hope to be able to have some progress here over the next few months. And as I've shared with many in the community and yourselves before, both of those industries are very, very challenged. So victory here will be a big success, and we hope to be able to make some announcements here shortly. And then, as you know, there's a number of other priorities that we have in terms of housing. As we mentioned before, we're 3,000 housing units short at all levels within our county, and we're working on plans with that, meeting with folks to look at new housing developments both downtown and on the Hill throughout the year. So lots of activity. It's never a dull day. And you might get a call occasionally that says, hey, we hear you've got some acreage available. We might have some interest. So we continue to field those calls as well and help small investors as well, like the Cinnamon Tea Room investors and others throughout the community on a daily basis, to welcome them to Madison and thank them for their investment and help them through seeing a vision into a final product.
So Tony, I saw where they started cutting down the trees in the area where Culver's is supposed to go up there?
Yes.
So do we have a groundbreaking, or do we have a timetable on the Culver's?
Yeah, we expect that property to close within the next 90 days with Culver's, and a groundbreaking shortly there around June.
Okay.
For that project. Those trees that came down were part of our agreement with them as a part of our installation of the sewer line as well for Sunrise Crossing. So the new force main for Sunrise Crossing goes to that intersection at Franks Drive back towards the west, and then crosses down behind the new shopping center to a new lift station to support the 183 apartments and the retail.
And so we could expect Culver's to be done by the end of the summer?
They're saying 6 months or so.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we can expect it. They build pretty quickly, so we would expect hopefully yet this year, maybe in the same time frame as the retailers.
Okay. Thank you.
Craving a butter burger, are we?
Or a big thick milkshake. Okay. Yes. No. It's they should close within the next 60 days or 90 days. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Tony, I know you're about to go, but do you want to just briefly mention infrastructure conversations we're having in our corridor to River Ridge?
Oh, yes. So 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, the mayor and myself and a couple of key industrial leaders here in the community met with the commissioner of NDOT and the Speaker of the House, and talked through a connector between Madison and what I like to talk about as River Ridge, which is the corridor from here to Charlestown, and the Utica Bridge expansion on the Beltway around Louisville. We think that connector road is very critical for a number of reasons. We think it's an open opportunity for workforce development. It's certainly an opportunity for commerce development. And three, we also think it's a key component for us for an economic development perspective. So we're working with them and our state representative, Representative Fry, to develop a plan and some tactics potentially for that connector.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Major moves. Any question for Tony? Oh. Flight.
The birds are en route, so they're migrating to Madison. They will be arriving tomorrow evening, and they will nest on Thursday. And the groundbreaking, or the ribbon cutting, will be this Friday, the 24th at 5:30, in coordination with Fourth Friday, and the birds will be up in Bicentennial Park through October. It should be a great opportunity. It'll be the first time, the artist is excited, it'll be the first time that the traveling public exhibit will be up over virtually 4 seasons. If you consider this late winter, spring, summer, and fall, but certainly 3 solid seasons in one location. He's never had his exhibit there, so I think you'll be able to experience the art in different seasons. Will be really special for everyone here. And arts tourism is a booming part of the tourism industry. We've had great partnerships with Visit Madison and the Madison Area Arts Alliance, who are working hand in hand with the city to support this. I want to thank the Community Foundation as well, and a number of other sponsors in our community that will allow this to be a public, the first public traveling arts exhibit in Madison.
Thank you, Tony. All right, moving on. Bills on second reading. We have ordinance number 2023-3, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, vacating a portion of a certain alley in the City of Madison, Indiana. I'll read this into the record. Whereas petitioner Scott Kerner and Susan Kerner presently own certain real estate located in the City of Madison, Jefferson County, Indiana, said real estate being situated at 920 East Vaughn Drive and 117 Ferry Street, and which properties are described as follows. And here's a legal description: 80 feet by parallel lines off the east side of lots 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 of the John Sheets addition. To the City of Madison, bounded on the north by High Street, on the east by Ferry Street, on the south by Vaughn Drive. Also that portion of a 14-foot platted alley lying between lots 22 and 23 in said addition, whereas petitioners have proposed that the City of Madison vacate the following alley, which lies between petitioners parcel number 391301223049.000-007 and parcel 39-13-0123048000-007 in City of Madison, Indiana. That portion of a 14-foot platted alley between lots 22 and 23 in John Sheets addition to the City of Madison. Said alley runs east and west and is located between parcel number 39-13-0123-048-000-007 and parcel number 39-13-0123-049-000-007. Whereas the Board of Public Works and Safety of the city at its regular meeting held on February 21st, pursuant to a request by petitioners, took official action recommending the vacation of said alley to the extent set forth above. Whereas the platted streets and alleys may be vacated within a municipality in accordance with IC 36-7-3-12, and whereas pursuant to IC 36-7-3-12, concerning the vacation of public ways, required notice of hearing before the Common Council has been given pursuant to the code, and advertisement of the notice of hearing by publication in the Madison Courier. Whereas all adjacent landowners have been notified of said vacation pursuant to IC 36-7-3-12. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that pursuant to the recommendation of the Board of Public Works and Safety, adopted at its regular meeting on February 21st, 23, the Common Council hereby adopts an ordinance vacating the above described alley, that the following alley is now and hereby vacated as a public alley. The City of Madison hereby reserves for its benefit or the benefit of any private utility which may presently have utilities located upon the described alley, an easement for public or private utilities located upon the above described alley, and for the maintenance, replacement, improvement, repair thereof. The City of Madison further reserves for its benefit or for the benefit of any private utility authorized by the City of Madison an easement allowing future underground utilities be installed, maintained, repaired, and replaced in said vacated alley. Clerk Treasurer of the City of Madison, upon final adoption of this ordinance and signature by the mayor, shall cause a certified copy of this alley vacation ordinance to be entered upon the transfer records in the offices of the Auditor of Jefferson County, Indiana, and further recorded in the deed records in the office of the Recorder of Jefferson County. This ordinance shall be full force and effect immediately from and after the passage, enrollment, and signature by the mayor. The foregoing ordinance was passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, at a regular meeting. We'll correct the date on this of when it was passed by Common Council. We had the public hearing on this at the last council meeting, so this is up for discussion by council and anybody who would like to make a public comment regarding this ordinance. Open it up to council, see if you have any questions or comments on the proposed ordinance vacating alley. And I think Jim Pruitt is here tonight representing the Kerners if there are any questions that he needs to answer.
I think it's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would move that we,
Let's go to discussion. Is there any public comment first? Is that okay? Any public comment on?
I just wanted to say I think it's important to note that what Council Jenner said at the last meeting, that it seemed like This alley had been vacated at some point in the past, because it's included in the legal description for the property as it is. So this is most likely just clearing up an oversight in records here. So I would, if there are no further comments or questions from the audience, I would move we suspend the rules and move to third reading.
And I would second.
We have a second. Let's do a roll call vote on suspension of the rules.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to third reading. This is ordinance number 2023-3, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, vacating a portion of a certain alley in the City of Madison, Indiana. Could we have a,
Got lost on, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
could we have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. All right. Moving on. Ordinance 2023-4, sponsored by Krebs. The other ordinance was sponsored by Councilman Tevenall. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing the Aviation Rotary Fund. This is on second reading. Whereas the City of Madison previously adopted an ordinance creating a Board of Aviation Commissioners for the purpose of oversight and governance of the City of Madison Municipal Airport. Whereas the City of Madison Airport currently provides and sells aviation-related fuel and lubricants. Whereas Common Council desires to create an Aviation Rotary Fund pursuant to IC 822-2-7C. Whereas all funds received from the sale of fuels and lubricants purchased with funds from the Aviation Rotary Fund shall be turned over at least once a month to the Clerk Treasurer to remain in the Aviation Rotary Fund to be checked against by the Board of Aviation Commissioners as other appropriations are dispersed for the sole purpose of purchasing fuels and lubricants for sale to the public in the operation of the airport. Whereas at the end of each fiscal year, the Board of Aviation Commissioners shall present a detailed statement to the fiscal body showing the amount of money received and paid over to the Clerk Treasurer to the credit of the Aviation Rotary Fund, and also showing the amount of fuels and lubricants on hand. Whereas the Board of Aviation Commissioners is free to transfer any profits from the Aviation Rotary Fund into the Aviation General Fund that may be used for the operation of the airport or grant matching funds. And whereas if at the end of the fiscal year, the accumulated Aviation Rotary Fund plus the value of inventory of fuels and lubricants on hand exceeds the total previous appropriations to the fund by 25%. The excess shall be turned over to the Aviation General Fund. Whereas the Board of Aviation Commissioners shall direct and request an appropriation from the Airport Non-Reverting Fund, an amount necessary to establish this Aviation Rotary Fund. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that the Aviation Rotary Fund is hereby established in accordance with IC 822-2-7C. It shall become effective immediately upon its adoption by council and signature of the mayor, enrollment in the Book of Ordinances, and publication of notice as required by law. Any ordinance in conflict with the ordinance is hereby repealed, and all remaining aspects of the ordinance shall remain. So we're on second reading for this, so we can open it up for discussion, and I'll just mention, since I've been involved in this, some of these matters first came to light when we were working through the budget last summer for 2023. And we have had multiple conversations with the Board of Aviation Commissioners about a better way to help them manage and govern the financial aspects of the Madison Municipal Airport. Creation of the Aviation Rotary Fund will help us, isolate the fuel and lubricant sales, track the profits, but as part of this financial restructuring for the Board of Aviation, we'll also be coming back to council to create some additional funds that are necessary, as well as review the 2023 appropriations with council. So this is really a first step in creating the fund to where the monies from the appropriations for the purchase of fuel and lubricants, as well as the profit from that activity, can be contained into a separate fund rather than being combined with general aviation fund monies. That's the purpose of it. Open it up to the floor if you guys have any questions on this.
I just want to be sure that, and I'm sure it has, I just haven't been privy to any discussion that the persons that are in charge of the airport have been fully aware of this fund and how it works, because.
Yes, this is described almost word for word for what the state statute sets forth. And we've had regular meetings with the Board of Aviation Commissioners about this, as well as laying out basically a 10-step strategy to, bring some of their fiscal activities more in line with what we do with our own budgeting. So yes, they're fully apprised of it. Any additional comments or questions? Any comments or questions from anybody in the audience? Anybody dying to know what an aviation road refund does?
So then I would also move that we push this to third reading.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please, on the motion to suspend rules and go to third reading.
Dan DiTillo,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Krebs,
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is ordinance number 2023-4 on third reading, sponsored by Councilwoman Krebs. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing the Aviation Rotary Fund. We have a roll call vote, please.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Krebs,
Yes.
Dan DiTillo.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Move on to, I don't see anything miscellaneous on the agenda, but public comments. So if there's anybody here who'd like to address the mayor's office and city council, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and make your statement, please.
Hello, how are y'all? Lisa
Alex.
Ferguson. I live at 718 East 2nd Street. I can imagine that you can tell why I'm here once again. Charlie says that when I use a paper, my enthusiasm is better with just reading the paper, so pardon me while I do that. I'm on another mission. Remember how persistent I was to ask for the city to purchase the flags that are the proper size lining Main Street and coming into the gateway. And I thank the street department every single day when I see all of them driving up and down the road that you all were positive about that mission that I was started on, getting flags all along this beautiful Main Street. I think we can all agree that the most beautiful thing about being American is being able to fly this flag that stands for our freedom. It's very important to me. I take it as a compliment when people are driving up and down Main Street, and I'm always walking 6.5 miles a day, and they yell out, "There's that flag lady," and I think that's a real compliment to me. Since volunteering over at the city garage all the time now, they've learned to call me Lisa and not that flag lady, and I'm slowly learning their names as well. So tonight I wanted to come once again and just bring it to your forefront and attention. We, prepare for lots of parks and lots of things for our visitors and our townsfolk, and I really would like it to become the first focus of anything we do, to think, how do we make this the most beautiful? And that would be to have a flag. So, I got really excited when Main Street was all lined with the proper size flags and not the little postage stamp ones that we had before. They're beautiful. I think we can all agree. Many people come to town and comment on that. So when we came up with the idea, and Tony has been the driving force behind getting the American Queen Voyages here, when that big announcement was made, I was like, what could be better than flags lining Vaughn Drive? Because what else says this is the most beautiful small town in America other than the flag that we live under? So I'm bringing that again and hoping that every time we come up with a budget or a park plan, that we start to say, that's the first thing we think of that's the most beautiful. It's more important than the shrubbery or the sidewalks or the stones that we're laying, that we stand on this flag. That's what we love. And so I really want to just get that into a mindset of all of us, that this is America, and we are the most beautiful small town in America. And the way to do that even more is to promote our flag. And so tonight, guess what? You get another Walmart flag, which sadly enough, is not made in America probably. but I think that the riverfront here is definitely the most utilized, largest park that we have in town. It draws more tourists than anybody else along, other than Main Street. We walk it every day, and so I just want that to be a push and in the forefront of your mind. So I'll give you a flag and just try to keep being
Thank
the
you, Lisa.
cheerleader for it.
Yeah, thank you. Can you bring me a little flag stand next time? I'll put it right here. There, I made one. And there's my Team USA cup. Lisa, did you notice my cup?
Did I notice
Team
your cup?
USA.
Team
Yeah.
USA. Thanks, Tony. Hey, welcome to Madison.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody else would like to address Mayor's office and City Council? Please come up before him now.
Mike Greco, 1106 East Street. I know the council and the mayor have had a lot to do with the flood mitigation, and I just want to thank you guys. Yesterday, prior to yesterday, they had a skid steer down Crooked Creek, and they were pulling rock out. And yesterday, they took several truckloads, and it just makes such a big difference with the flood mitigation. And I mean, a couple storms ago, we had almost 3-4 inches of rain, and it never came out of its banks. So I mean, it's proven that it is working. The other thing I wanted to say is, this past week we had a crime of vandalism down there at the bridge, and in less than 24 hours, our police chief and the police department not only solved the problem but had it rectified and had it taken care of. And that says a lot for the department we have, and it's part of a small town, and part of the thing that people love about it. And I just want to thank them too. So
Thank you, Mike. Best part of a small town is the people, because they all care about the community. I think that's also wonderful, and thank you for acknowledging the work we're doing on flood mitigation. Our detention basin is operational on Hilltop. That's a 3 million gallon detention basin, and it's going to prove significantly worth the investment. And I've been talking a long time about the partnership we have with the Army Corps of Engineers, and next week we'll get the first preview of some of their findings that we've been waiting on to provide us data and information and possible solutions to further mitigate the risk of major flooding that's been happening downtown for over a century. So big investment, lots of things happening there. And thank Mike for being here. Anybody else would like to address Mayor's office and City Council? There's Ms. Fox. How are you doing?
Good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
As my name's Michael Fox, and I live at 1119 Wells Drive, and this is my wife Kathy. And we came, I think it was the first meeting in February about our water problem. And I don't know if you all are aware of what happened. Well, we invested, with the help of her retirement savings, we fixed the drainage problem, but we didn't fix the water problem. And what happened was, if this had been addressed and taken care of when we first came to the council meeting and told you that there was a water leak, that we wouldn't have had and we wouldn't have had to take out of our savings. And we wouldn't have had an argument with our neighbor, who is a really nice guy. And the city came out after we'd already done all this. And I called last week and wanted to talk to you, and you were out of town, and they said they would tell you and get back with me. Well, I talked to somebody in the water department. Nobody's gotten back with me about the problem. And what the city did, is I'm thankful for, is they found, of all things, an old pipe. It was a water leak from the city. If we'd have found this, and if they'd investigated it, we wouldn't be out $6,300. And I'm not real happy right now. And you can understand why.
On Rabbit Lane, there are houses out back there that are fairly new. In the last 10 years have gone up, and there used to be a park there. I think in the sixties and seventies, people that are our age, that grew up there, remember that park. So this pipe evidently came from that park. That's what they told Mark next door.
Yeah.
That there was an old rusty water pipe that wasn't closed off or taken care of.
And it busted.
And it busted, and nobody bothered to do anything about it. They came out and dug up his yard, and within 5 minutes, the water had stopped.
Yeah. And I
And
told,
we've been fighting it since before Christmas.
Yeah.
And we've called the water department, we called the street department, we begged everybody. Mr. Barron, who reads the meter, came along and said, "Oh my gosh,
You
you
got a
guys have a
water-
terrible leak, what's going on?" And we said, "Yeah, we feel like that too." People have been out to the house, they've looked at it,
they,
investigated.
they even tested the water and said there was no chlorine or fluoride in it. And I'm debating on whether they did it. You know, because I have no proof that they did it.
We thought it could be.
Yeah, it could have been filtered through the ground too. We've been told that. So I guess what I'm saying is, with the negligence of the city not investigating when a citizen came up and asked you to, that we should be compensated for something that we didn't have to do.
Well, Mr. Fox, I'm sorry this happened. I mean, I didn't get a message that you called, and I thought that it
I
had
figured
been
that.
investigated, and the discovery
Well,
was there might have been a spring up there,
Yeah.
not a
And
pipe. And you're saying this was a city
water pipe.
city water pipe.
Yeah. They
And
never
your-
contacted
and our
us.
city water department went up there and repaired it.
Yes.
They dug up his yard and found it.
My whole thing is, if it had been investigated when we first came
And I thought
to
it,
the
and I
meeting,
thought it had been, and
No.
they thought it was a spring.
I mean,
It was the
other than
feedback I
everybody
got. It
coming
was a
out
spring.
standing like this,
yeah,
nothing really happened.
nothing happened.
Nobody dug around or tried to investigate the source of it. And Mark begged them, and we begged them.
Well, who's your neighbor? Who's your neighbor, Mark?
Mark Nichols.
Oh, Mark Nichols.
And, we, the week after we had the culvert put in at our house, and I already had it paid for and everything, I called the water department, I said, "Listen, you guys, it's a river. It's
was.
flowing.
It was.
This can't be right. We've lived here 24 years and have never experienced this
No.
much amount of water. So now we have huge muddy ditches where there was used to be grass and stuff on either side of the culvert. Now it's there.
I will follow up with our
It is-
superintendent of
to me-
utilities about this. And
Yeah. To
Yeah,
me,
because the last time you guys were here, I thought sure that Mr. Jackson said he had been up there, had looked at the property and determined, now whether that was right or wrong, but,
Right.
you know, you keep saying we didn't investigate it, but we did send a water person up there to look at it. Now,
It
did they
wasn't-
make the right choice?
Carla,
Okay.
it wasn't investigated thoroughly.
I mean, we don't, you know, we usually don't dig up someone's yard without,
I know, I
you know,
understand
a
that.
lot of just cause. So, I mean, I just wanted to clarify that we had responded. You know, we didn't just ignore you.
And I think Councilman Chatham also came up to your house.
No one talked to us.
Yeah, nobody talked to us personally.
No, no one
I
talked to
asked
us.
Mark if anybody came up, and he said he didn't.
You're
Yeah.
saying the discovery was there's a water line that was active, that was broken from 50 years ago, that
Yeah.
was the source
Yeah.
of the water leak.
I don't know. Nobody has told us anything.
Well, I mean, where did you get the information that you were sharing with us?
Our
tonight?
neighbor said that the city came out and,
Okay, all right.
stopped
so-
the water.
All right, so let us speak to our
It's,
superintendent utilities, and we will follow up with you.
Okay.
So that we can get firsthand from our water department what they did, and also see their work orders, and we'll follow up with you.
We wouldn't have to do anything.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking you to reserve judgment on all that until we get some firsthand facts.
Okay.
Because I think
I'm
you're
not
in
trying to,
conflict.
I'm not trying to be mean
Sure.
or.
No, I understand. I'm
just,
sorry you had the problem.
I mean, that was our savings.
Well, I mean,
we had to use.
and I'm sorry they experienced it. I've just say that through process of elimination,
Mm-hmm.
the discovery was there was a water line from 50 years ago that was leaking. And I don't know how we didn't find that earlier, if that's, what the conclusion was.
No, they didn't search anything on Mark's property. I do know that.
Well, we'll have to look this, because normally they don't dig on private property,
Yeah.
because our water mains generally are in right-of-ways, not across somebody's property.
I'm not exactly sure where it was, but I know that they dug up behind his garage. And,
I promise you, myself and Carla will follow up with our superintendent and
Okay.
get back with you.
yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Is there anybody, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Fox, for your comments too. Anybody else here would like to address council or mayor's office? This is the part you're all been waiting for, isn't it? The mayor's remarks.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes, sir.
I'd like to take just a moment. We're at the beginning of spring. I think the first official day of spring was 2 days ago. And so there's a lot of things that go on in Madison year-round, but especially spring, summer, and fall. And those things absolutely require a multitude of volunteers. And nobody does volunteerism like the city of Madison, like the populace of the city of Madison. People come to this town, they're just amazed at the number of volunteers that turn out to help with any number of different things that go on. Everybody out there has a passion, something that they're really tied to, that they really enjoy. And I'd like to encourage everyone to find that passion, raise their hand, and step forward and volunteer, because there's just so many things that government cannot do, but the populace of the city of Madison can do in a heartbeat. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jim. Thank you, because I know you're part of that volunteer boards, I should say boards as well, that bring all of our festivals and investment across the community. So thank you too, and thank everybody who volunteers, because it does take literally hundreds of people. It takes over 100 people just to staff our volunteer boards and committees at the city level. Not to mention all of those volunteers who it takes to actually put on festivals and events that we all enjoy throughout the course of the year. Anything else, council? I do want to update you on a few matters, NDOT related matters. You probably saw a public notice from NDOT for Michigan Road and Clifty Drive improvements, so there'll be a public hearing next week on that. The 27th, I believe, is when that is. We also received notification from NDOT of a slide repair project that is going to close Hanging Rock Hill from June to the end of October. We experienced that a few years ago. That creates a diversion of traffic and some potential congestion, as everybody finds their alternate route. And naturally, people find the quickest way to go, but it puts a lot of pressure on the rest of our roads and streets. And then the third thing is there's a lot of utility work happening with NDOT on Ferry Street. So that is continuing in progress, but eventually we'll need to have some traffic control measurements on Ferry Street for the underground work that NDOT's going to have to prepare. I want to mention yesterday's Board of Public Works meeting, because I think there's a lot of contrast in what we do in executing our blight elimination strategies. At the beginning of the meeting, we had a hearing with regards to several unsafe structures on North Walnut Street. That concluded in the Board of Public Works and Safety issuing an order for 7 mobile homes at Moody Park to be either removed or demolished because of the unsafe and uninhabitable nature of those trailers. But also in that meeting, we had a fantastic outcome relative to this quarter's allocation of PACE investments. There were 7 properties awarded approximately $140,000 in PACE. 5 of those 7 properties were dilapidated, meaning they were unsafe and progressing toward almost an unresolvable state of condition. And 2 of those 5 were on Walnut Street. If you know, a few years ago we created targeted revitalization areas. That's directing capital where we want it and need it the most. And the best thing about that quarter's allocation was essentially the leveraging. It's going to create that $140,000 investment is partnering with private capital to create about a $1.7, $1.8 million investment in these structures, which I think is phenomenal outcome. 11-to-1 ratio. That's a record for us. I think that was just fantastic outcome. We're continuing to work on updating our excavation procedures so that we can protect our investment in roads and sidewalks. So probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks, we'll be presenting to Board of Public Works those procedures for them to adopt, and then City Council will be reviewing amendments to the ordinance that hasn't had an evaluation since 1966. So we'll be bringing that in. We have a tremendous, as you know, multi-million-dollar investment in roads and sidewalks, and we think that it's worth updating these procedures and implementing permits and procedures for the backfilling to protect our roads. While in Indianapolis last week, I was able to meet with our contractor on the Crystal Beach Aquatic Park, and we executed the construction contract for the replacement of the pool. That was another milestone for us. We'll be having a groundbreaking very soon on Crystal Beach. And I want to mention too that last Friday, continuing our trend of really successful grant awards to execute our Destination Madison development plans, we were awarded 3 more ready grants totaling over $900,000. All 3 are public-private partnerships for the Ohio Theater, the Hanover-Madison Connector Trail, and the Indiana Music City Bicentennial Park improvements. So a lot of work going into that with our staff, Tony and Nicole and Emily, on the ready grants. And anyway, lots happening, but over there is the jersey from 1960s basketball legend Buster Briley. That is on loan to us from Mr. Perry, who was at our groundbreaking for Gaines Park. And Mr. Perry played basketball for the Broadway School when it was on North Broadway Street. But he loaned us to exhibit Buster Briley's warm-up jersey from Madison Cubs. I will stop there, and if council has any questions for me or anything else to add, be happy to answer that, and I appreciate everybody being here tonight. If not, we'll have a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting will be April the 4th.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.